R&D podcast episode 78. This is Alex Caravan, director of data science. Today we got the OG of Driveline R&D, Joe Marsh, Yabin. So we're making some margaritas. So I'm gonna start making them as you guys introduce yourselves. I'm going the whole thing. I'm doing salt on the rim. Got some homemade marks behind us. Don't look at the casing.
Kyle Lindley, post product manager. Handed off from Joe, actually. Joe, do you want to introduce yourself?
Joe Marsh, former project manager of Pulse, former director of R&D, former R&D intern, former throwing trainer. People forget.
Former throwing trainee.
Yeah.
Former throwing trainee. And then now I don't really know what my title is, but
we're gonna have to clean this after.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Dude, by the way, you guys like how I just grabbed these cups from Starbucks? I didn't want to buy more cups for this. I realized we had no clear cups. So it's asked for 3 small ones.
Did you guys take the coasters home?
Which one?
Did you guys take the coasters home?
Dude.
I forgot to grab the other ones.
Yeah, hopefully Mitch doesn't watch this episode. Oh, Mitch, we're going to clean everything up.
I'm putting it in employee contact.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, dude. I think you might have the record for like affiliated relationships with Driveline between titles and like trainee and everything
Probably. I
of,
think I'm
of the whole company.
besides OC, I'm the longest tenured employee. And
I was going to say, I
and
thought
Kyle, obviously.
Yeah.
There you go, bro. Wait, let me put a lime on it too. You want lime on the rim or you want it in?
Just slap it in there.
Slap it in? Okay.
Other than Mike and Kyle, you and OC are the OGs.
Yeah, OC started in January, I think, maybe even December of 2016, and then I started in April of 2016.
Damn.
So how'd you and Boddy first link up?
So in college, I went to University of Washington for 1 whole year. Had no intention of playing baseball after I played in high school, and then with Rocky Tenera with the Birdman.
Wait, you went to high school with Bird?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, dude.
You don't know Joe's from
I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
So were you guys homies?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he hit I definitely remember he hit a nuke off of me in fall ball, and then I would like hit him every other pitch. So that,
On accident or on purpose?
Totally on accident, dude. I was so bad. Zero command. I need those command training balls, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, had no intention of playing baseball. Came up to UW just because that's where I got in, basically.
Make sure you stay close enough to the mic. You can bring it closer to you if you need to.
And then like in December or January that first year, I was like, I kind of want to play baseball. So I just Googled like baseball training place near me. Stumbled on Driveline, which was just Kyle in his garage.
What was that ad look like? What it looked like?
I just found it on Google. Like it was
Craigslist
yeah, basically, yeah. It was like it was the old Driveline site with the old throwing man, old yellow logo
In the circle.
Yeah. And I was like,
Where were you living at the
I'll check it out. I was living in the dorms.
Yeah.
at UW. So I took the bus up there, met Kyle, and I was like, sure. And then was training with Jack Scheidemann, our OG strength coach. It was basically just us two. He was still in high school at that point.
Okay.
And then
He went to high school here, right?
Yeah, he went to high school up here. And then just did that all year.
What was the training like? Like what'd you guys end up doing?
Yeah, it was Kyle had just figured, like, he bought the wrong kind of weighted balls. That was how weighted ball training started at Driveline. He wanted to get like only the really heavy ones to do like holds and kind of like reverse throws and like more basic stuff. Got like the whole set of weighted balls. I was like, all right, well, do some research, and then just started throwing them. And it was just 3 days a week, pull downs every day.
No way.
Yeah, dude. Pulling down 5, 6, 7, 5, 4, 3, like 6 of each at least. Even got into the pulling down 9 ounce and 11 ounces.
Damn, dude.
It was just like it was like the Bulgarian method of training, basically. Just like let it rip until you feel something hurt, and then like, all right, shut it down.
Yeah.
Go lift some weights and then call it a day.
Damn.
And then did a few tryouts. Knew I wanted to go back to California because out-of-state tuition was no bueno.
Yeah.
And because that Davis dorm cooking was too good.
Davis dorms do have good food, dude. They do have.
Actually?
That's what I remember.
It was actually really good.
Yeah. I visited my friend like freshman year in Davis, and I just remember like that's the main thing I remember from it. Well, I remember like bikes everywhere, like it being super flat, and like the bike lanes.
Oh yeah.
To this day, might be the only place I've seen that has like the bike lanes, like left turn lane. You know what I'm saying? Like throughout the whole intersection, it's got the thin bike lane, like showing you where.
Yeah.
They have roundabouts too, right?
Roundabouts everywhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so got to try out and then put in the good word down there. Got like a recruited walk-on kind of deal. So then transferred there and then kept in touch with Kyle ever since then. Yeah, and then played, was trying to play there. Didn't make it my sophomore year, I guess. And then my junior year, my second like NCAA year, sort of made the team. But since I played club baseball the year before, I was like, that was just way more fun. I'm just gonna do that again. So that was how I sort of made the NCAA team, and then
it was before or after the Joe Marsh Story came out.
I think it was after.
So I mean,
talk
about what's up. Yeah, talk about the Joe Marsh Story. One of the OG Driveline blog pieces. If not, like were there pieces on the blog before? Was like the first like athlete results really?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it was the first like athlete results sort of story. The rest were all like Kyle, just like, Steven Strasburg is pretty good.
Yeah.
That was out. He was doing like other, random sort of stuff like that. But yeah, I was kind of the first like athlete result story from 77 to 90.
That's crazy.
In how many months?
I think it was 5. It was like January to early June.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the ticket. Elo matters even back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
were you training with? Because you trained with Nick Chapa, right? Was that?
That was after. That was well, I was a trainer here.
Yeah, that was OG. This is OG.
Yeah. This is OG. This is like 2011. This is before.
Shit.
Literally anything. It was started in Kyle's garage, was where we first did a couple training sessions, and he had just gotten a spot in the North Seattle baseball facility. It was like shared with a Little League, next door to a strip club management office and a weed shop.
I'm pushing for us to relocate to that spot too.
It's a good little spot. It's blowing up now. It's getting a little gentrified up there. Yeah, I just took the bus up there. It was tight. That was 2011. We had like a 55-foot cage. Didn't have a full length cage. The only place that was like actually drive lines was like probably like 20-foot by 20-foot little square. Wrapped in chicken wire with all the
the chicken wire. I always hear about that.
Yeah, those photos are floating around. I think they're on Kyle's Flickr account.
Wait, is that the spot upstairs that like Jeff Passon saw, or is this even before that?
Even before that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in Puyallup at I forget what that place was called, but yeah, that was like 2015.
Yeah. So basically, we're at our like fourth main spot, right?
So there was the North Seattle. Well, there was Kyle's garage.
Yeah.
Which.
Yeah.
That don't really count.
Yeah, the facility.
There was the North Seattle baseball place. Then it moved to Rips.
Oh, never mind.
Took in SeaTac. Rips moved somewhere else, but it was still with Rips. So technically two places there. And then the Puyallup facility, and then
first Kent spot.
First Kent spot, our first dedicated driveline spot, and then now the big swag one was at like 6, I guess.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
By the way, what do you think of these margs?
Honestly,
I mixed them up pretty well, or what?
Yeah, I did. You opened the cans super well.
Yeah.
Hey,
Joe,
get that mic closer to you, baby.
The salt adds a lot to the table.
It's encroaching on my face.
No, dude, we want to hear that beautiful voice.
Yeah, dude. Just get the audio track. We can bump it up.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, at what point did you? So you graduated from Davis. And then this is where, like, I feel like I know, like, kind of how you, like, went back to Driveline, but there's, like, a period after you graduated where you worked for, like, Tesla, right? Or, like, you worked...
Not directly, but sort of,
yeah. Yeah. What was the transition from Davis back up here to Driveline?
Yeah. So I was playing club ball. I think I still have the single season records and a lot of stuff. Innings pitched, hit by pitches, strikeouts, wins, losses. I think I have all those.
I was waiting for a good like performance one.
Yeah.
If you guys want to top yourselves off, there's like
there we go.
5% of the can left.
There we go.
Thanks, dude.
But yeah, I knew like baseball wasn't really in the cards. I was always into like engineering was always going to be my actual job, and so.
Did you start school in engineering,
Yeah.
or did you pick that up after?
No, during the whole time, yeah. I had a brief stint. I think it's basically how I transferred to Davis was I went into wildlife, fish, and conservation biology
Okay.
for a hot second. Which
Wait, what? I didn't know that. For how long?
I think a full year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, second year?
Yeah, the sophomore year. Yeah. But I was still taking like I knew I was going back to engineering. I was still taking.
Wait,
like,
hold up. What was Santa's major? Was that her major? Is that what you used
No. She was, I think she was in biomedical engineering at that point.
Okay.
Let's go.
And then she switched out.
Shut up.
You know, shout out to my girlfriend. She got a lot of F's and D's, and she got weeded out by the weeder.
She's a fan, dude. I don't know if you know. She was telling me when we were at Ruben. She's a fan. She listens to every podcast.
Damn.
No.
Damn.
I mean, she might be a fan. She didn't tell me that.
Oh, please. She
Shout out the past guest girlfriend Lauren, huge fan. She does apparently listen to a bunch of the episodes. But anyways, sorry. Back to reverse shouting out your girlfriend.
But also, what were the like? So did you take any specific major courses for that major?
Yeah. I took the like intro class for it, and
Okay.
then there was a like a lab sort of course, which was super chill. We just went out to the canals and went fishing. That was basically like the lab
sick.
course. Yeah, it was.
So
pretty
you
sick,
just-
pretty sick major.
It was like kind of like an environmental science type deal.
Yeah, it's sort of in that. Like you basically go there. Like the degree basically puts you in a position to be a game warden on a like national forest land or whatever. Which I did growing up a lot with my dad. Like we went hunting and fishing a lot, so it was tight. Yeah, I did that for a hot second. But when I was like, all right, I got to get into the engineering stuff. So I got an internship at, I can't remember the name of the company, but it was a super small little firm that got contracted by other places. They did process piping and mostly that stuff. So like mostly a lot
Stack.
no, in Santa Clara.
Okay.
San Jose. I was still living at home, so it was like an hour drive. I was
gotcha.
in Lafayette.
Okay.
East Bay.
East Bay. Yeah, they did process piping. Like they did a lot of hospital stuff, so like oxygen lines and gas lines and stuff like that. So they got contracted by Gallo Glass. I think it's the second largest glass bottle manufacturing place in the world. That was kind of tight to go to that factory. That was wild.
Do they make like beer bottles or
Beer
like...
bottles, wine bottles.
Okay.
Just like general purpose bottles.
Yeah.
Topo Chicos.
Chico bottles. Yep, exactly. So yeah, I did work there a little bit, and then at Tesla they were putting in an oxygen line for their expansion at the factory there. So I kind of saw how those two places worked, and was like, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do something a little bit more janky.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid that. And then I had one more. That was my summer of my senior year, and I had one more quarter to do.
Yeah.
So after that quarter, I was like, yeah, I could just move back up to Seattle and see what happens. I was like, maybe I'll like train at Driveline, maybe try and play somewhere, try and get picked up. That was right around the time.
You're thinking indie ball?
Yeah, it was like right around the time Christian Meister got drafted after like not
yeah.
going to school, and I was like, oh, okay, that's like
It's possible.
it's possible.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
I made it to 90.
Yeah, made it to 90. I was like sitting like probably 90, touching 92, 93 here and there. I threw 90 out of Six Flags, ice cold. That was kind of tight.
Whoa.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, on the little like guess your velo and then
Yeah.
chuck it.
Were they just blown away? I've never seen somebody throw like super hard on one of those. Where they just like, whoa, wait,
Yeah,
what?
I think that the top velo in there was like 79 for the day, and I was like, I can definitely beat that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, probably like 85. I hit like 90, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of tight.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was
we need to validate that. You take the radar gun off the wall, like, bring it in a gym. We need to validate this.
Yeah, it was definitely not a stalker, not a
Yeah.
legit radar gun. It was one of the Bushnell little like
Yeah.
trash ones. But
Yeah.
that's all right. But yeah, just kind of wanted to avoid like an actual
Yeah.
corporate engineering job for as long as I could. And I remember I was always into like physics and engineering concepts and like trying to think about like, oh, how can I help myself throw better or like do that kind of stuff. Like I was always kind of into biomechanics, and I asked Kyle about it. We stayed in touch pretty regularly, and then he's like, just do mechanical engineering because you can do anything with it. Like don't do biomechanical. And like,
Yeah, I wish I had that advice for
all
sure.
right, that's fair. So yeah, I did that, and then all right, move up to Seattle, see what happens. And then it was like in April. So I moved up in January. No, January like 2nd, right after New Year's.
2016.
2016. Yeah. That was when like that crew of Bauer, Eric Sim, Cody Bukel, and Trey McNutt.
Yeah.
Those videos were popping, and Weathers through 107.8.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was tight training with those guys. And
107.8 as a pull down or as a 3 ounce or
pull
what?
down. Yeah, 5 ounce pull down, 107.8.
That's still the record,
that made
right?
it a Passon's book, right?
Yeah, that one did. Yeah,
It's still the record, right?
yeah,
Here?
still the 5 ounce record. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And of course, Flama Blanca, the legend of Alex Casillas.
Yeah.
My old landlord.
Who was
My old landlord.
He was, yeah.
It shows too.
Yeah.
And then I started working for him.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Basically, yeah.
You were helping him?
Like a house manager.
No, like an enforcer.
No, I was like a contractor. I was helping him build out his properties.
Oh shit. Okay.
So when I moved up here, I was like, Kyle, do you got anybody I can like hit up to live somewhere? And he's like, oh yeah, hit up this guy Alex, Flama on Twitter. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen him around. He was just instantly insane. I'm like, all right. So the stories I see online are totally true. And we moved into this apartment in Des Moines, like 10 minutes from the facility. Pretty nice little spot actually. And I was living with Flama and Trey McNutt. Just a ridiculous household between those two.
Yeah,
absolutely absurd.
Like how much space did you guys have? I guess you guys probably had a good amount of space. If it was Flama, yeah, because Flama put me in with 5 other 6'5" pitchers. And
yeah, no, this is before he was like selling in property.
Yeah.
I kind of gave him the idea in the back of his head. I was like, you should just do this.
Yeah.
For like,
yeah. I mean, it works. I was down to pay slightly less money for a lot less space.
Yeah.
Of course. But yeah, no, we had like 3 bedrooms, like a living room, no internet, obviously.
Yeah.
You know.
Obviously. Naturally.
Naturally. But yeah, living with them was absurd. And then we moved he bought the house in Tacoma, the tiny little like 2-bed, 1-bath thing. Moved down there and then helped him build that out with Marty, his like absolutely insane contractor guy. So we'd be up until like Flama gave him like $1,000 to like remodel the whole garage into a living space.
Yeah.
And that was it, which is like, that's the wrong amount of money for that job. And then it just turned into like, I would buy him a 30 rack every day.
To get him drunk enough to keep working for Flama.
Yeah, exactly. So I would leave Driveline at like 9 at night, 9 or 10, just being here super late all the time. And then go back to Tacoma, swing by the 7-Eleven, get a 30 rack. I'd meet Marty in the back, give him the 30 rack, and then I would just help him like nail down floorboards, put in insulation until like 2 in the morning, and then he would leave. So then I stopped. That was like my rent payment at that point.
That's great.
The 30.
Yeah, the 30 rack. Yeah.
A 30 rack a day.
I mean, 30 a day is not bad if you're buying them pretty cheap. You know, if you $20, $15-$20 a day, it's like $500-$600 a month.
It was still pretty good deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I came up. I wasn't planning on getting a job at Driveline, and then we were planning out the college summer, like kind of the first big college summer with all the trainees coming in, and then
who's we? You were just like homies with them, so you were helping. Like,
I would just hang around
plans.
literally all day. There was like, especially in April-ish time, like when the pro guys would go out to their teams and there was no college kids there already in school. There was like nobody there. It was like the employees. Joel McKeithen was hanging around because he didn't have a job yet, and like that was pretty much it. But I saw like how many people we were planning on training, and I'm like, we employ like 5 people. Like, Kyle, do you need like a throwing trainer? Like, oh, thank God. Yes. Okay, you're hired. I'm like, all right, cool. That was pretty much how it happened.
Wait, so had was Matty D technically an employee before you then?
Yeah, he was.
Matt Daniels?
Yeah,
not the Giants.
I'm employee number 7, I think.
Okay.
It was Mike, Kyle, obviously. Matt Daniels, number 1. Tyke was number 2.
Last podcast. Oh, we gotta get Matty D on the pod, honestly.
Dude, you gotta get Matty D on the pod.
We gotta get Matty D on the pod.
He might be busy though. He's got to throw, so.
He's got Dude. So we'll double task it. We'll talk game theory on the pod too. So he'll knock off the check-in.
There you go. That's been a long time coming.
Base camp to do.
You archive that, bro. I need to unarchive
it. Gotta bring it back. The Tyke and Matt, Cam Castro, who's now with the Brewers.
Yeah.
Cody Aiden. Technically Cody Aiden might have been the first employee, sort of. And then Kate Love and OC were hired.
Yeah.
Like at ABCA in Nashville in 2016.
Okay.
Oh, on the spot?
I I think that was just like you're hired, come to this, and then we'll go to Seattle.
Okay.
Kind of like that kind of thing.
I mean, the York move from 2019, right?
Yeah.
York driving to ABCA.
He literally got hired on this. He basically got hired on this from driving to Dallas from Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Be like,
and actually having code samples.
And bought his own ABCA ticket to get in. Like didn't text Kyle like, hey, I drove to Dallas, can we meet? He just bought a ticket and then walked up to the booth. I was like, York, what's up, man? Good to see you, because York was a trainee in 2016, so I knew him from then. That was pretty much how I got the job here.
So how'd you tell me a little bit more about the Biomech lab and kind of getting that thing off the ground? Because I mean, obviously like a ton of what we do centers around it, and I mean we're still like we've had so many iterations. We're like very well ahead of a lot of competitors and other facilities kind of trying to almost follow in their footsteps. But like I'm assuming when you guys first started doing it, you had even less like it was even more ballsy or like less things to kind of like model it off of. You're kind of probably making a few estimates. So like I mean kind of towards the end of summer, I think it was like 2017, early 20, like January 2017, maybe like late 2016. I was already like trying to not be a throwing trainer. I was like, I definitely don't want to be a coach. Yeah.
Like I like the sciencey stuff, so I was like, I saw OC doing a lot of like just reading all the research papers and compiling all that. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna like R&D is kind of starting to become a thing. I'm just gonna like, keep shoving myself in that direction. And then Kyle balled out and got the OptiTrack cameras. That was like the first thing, and I was like, great. And I just like stole all of them, shoved them on my desk, and then just like started messing with them forever. Trying to get them all to work and like even just like plugging them in, making the cameras all appear, like seeing how the markers work on it, because obviously I had no experience doing any of that stuff. And then
how many did you guys have initially? How many OptiTrack cameras?
8.
Okay.
8 guys. And then and we still only had 2.4.
Yeah.
So I got good enough. I was like, all right, I calibrated, like I just put them on different desks around the office space. And then I was like, all right, I calibrated that. I was like, all right, let's like do a like an actual collection down on the floor. And O-Chart was hired, so we were doing hitting now. So the floor was just full from like 9 in the morning until like midnight. Something was happening. I was like, all right, at midnight we're setting up the cameras while the hitters are picking up all the balls. Like we'll start setting up the tripods, getting it going, and just like tried to figure it out from there. So we like calibrated it. It was always bad. I was the first original test subject. I'd get all markered up and then throw a pitch on there, and you could like kind of see what was happening, but the data was just super bad. We found out you can over calibrate cameras, which is
a million samples per camera.
Yeah, it was like, oh, more samples, that's got to be better. So you just keep waving the wand in front of the cameras for like a full like 20 minutes, and then it would take like 15 minutes to like turn through all the video to like come up with the calibration settings. Yeah, just kept messing around with that. We kind of had to do it like through the net too, so that didn't help either, because the mound was just super shoved up against the weight room. It was super tight. But we finally got a decent enough setup, and we like would pull back the netting to get it in there. It was like did like a full test capture. I was like, oh, that looks pretty good. And then I think our first actual like athlete subject was Scott Casimir. When he was making his comeback.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Was that in the summer or was that before then?
It was 2017, like right around spring training time.
Because I remember the first, I think the first test capture in 4.3 was Jaegers, right?
Yeah, it was like either Jaegers, Rob, or Nick Seneca. It was between them in 4.3 when we finally got that space. But yeah, Casimir was the first guy. Funny story about that was we were all on the late shift because it was like, all right, hitting ends, then we can set up the lab and test it out. So we were all like, our work hours were like noon to 2 in the morning. And then Scott was coming up to train and do like a whole thing. And then Boddy was like,
you got time at 1 a.m., baby?
But yeah, Boddy was like, all right, great. What time do you want to do it? Like we have, obviously like have you by yourself. You want to have you by yourself, get that. It's like we can either go in the morning before all the guys show up, or we can go like really late at night. And Scott's like, yeah, let's go like 7 a.m. It's like, God damn
God
it.
damn it.
So,
We gotta flip the schedule.
yeah, so like on a whim had to flip the schedule. So we show up at like 6 in the morning to set up the cameras, make sure it's like actually ready, and then do that at balls o'clock in the morning, which was great. But yeah, so we collect all that data, and then I kind of forget when the OG driveline biomechanist Matt Wagshaw came back.
Legend.
The legend, who I met at the old driveline in 2011.
Yeah.
Way back.
Wait, how did Boddy know him?
That was when Kyle was trying to do some sort of biomechanics and just hit up UW, like biomechanics program. Like, hey, do you have any like master's, PhD students who kind of know what they're doing that would want to do this with baseball players? And Wagshaw was like, oh yeah, that sounds tight. So then they worked together a good bit. I met Matt that year, and then they pulled Matt's PhD funding.
Right.
So then that was when that all derailed, and then he vanished off the face of the earth for a little bit.
It's just so rough.
But he came back in 2017 to help out. Oh, dude, I didn't realize I missed him. I barely missed him then, because I started, as you probably remember, I started like at the very beginning of 2018, and it was up in first time we talked was Thanksgiving 2017.
Yeah.
When I flew him for that interview.
Yeah,
and
he was here pretty regularly that whole summer.
Yeah.
Because came back he was like a subsistence farmer up in Bellingham, like up north. Did that for a few years. He was like a super, like kind of quiet, kind of shy, like guy, clean shaven. And then he moved up there, and like a year later had a gigantic. all right, guy. And then he kind of came back to normalcy. So he processed the data first, did it all in OpenSim because we didn't have Visual 3D or anything at that point. To do Casimir's mocap data, and then that.
Which OpenSim is just is what the Python package, or is it a?
That's a. I mean, it is in Python, but it's like I think it's built in C++. Or just C. But it's just an open source free biomechanics thing. So if you're trying to get into biomechanics and you don't have money, OpenSim.
You might like really hate yourself for a little bit.
It's very difficult to use and a real pain in the ass, but it works.
And also a lot of people use it for like legitimate academic research now, for the forward dynamics and stuff.
Yeah. It has a lot of capabilities that Visual 3D doesn't focus on, like forward dynamics and computer motion control. We can come back to that one. But yeah, so then I spent he came back. He was sort of like the actual biomechanics resource I had at that point. Worked with him a lot on figuring out like what biomechanics like processing software we were going to use, because we debated.
Dude, I remember that decision. I remember you guys going back, because that was during the summer.
That
was during the summer. We'd had like a weekly like motion capture meeting where we got a test subject, and then Boddy was like basically like consulting Wagshaw and you about like what software we're gonna go with.
Yeah. So we were debating between Motion Monitor, Visual 3D, or just using OpenSim, and then finally settled on Visual 3D because it was the most intuitive. And
I was about to ask what made it easy for you guys, or maybe it wasn't easy, but what kind of sealed the choice?
Motion Monitor was just straight up too expensive at that point. Driveline was still rather poor.
Do they work with multiple camera systems too? Because don't they have their own cameras?
I don't know that they do, but they do work with them like every system, like direct. Like
I'm thinking motion analysis.
Motion analysis has their own cameras, and then Motion Monitor you can use to collect the the data itself. So like you can. Instead of using Motive and OptiTrack software, you would use Motion Monitor.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong about that, but I remember that being like a pretty big selling point. Was it's all one system, it's all right there. You don't have to like string together a bunch of stuff. But it was just too expensive. And then OpenSim was way too difficult to use and tedious to like set up. And Wagshaw was the one who was like, I just don't think it's like reliable enough that we'll be able to use that regularly, at least for like some point. And Visual 3D was like, you just set it up, and then you can get data relatively easy out of it. And it was pretty cheap, all things considered. So we did that one. And then I spent that summer helping Wagshaw build out the pipeline, figuring all that stuff out. Like what metrics we wanted to look at. It all mainly started with the original 6-week study. Of, like 6-week weighted throwing program.
This is like the first
Driveline study.
Yeah, like the first like study you guys were gonna publish in a peer reviewed journal. You guys were working on it when I started.
Yeah.
And then I slid in with the kettlebell EMG study.
You also slid in and wound up doing
the 6 week.
A lot of the statistical analysis.
This 6 weeks, yeah. But with 6 weeks, it was way too ambitious of a first study. I mean, it worked out, but it took you guys a while. It was. Do you want to give a refresher on it in case you remember it? Because I'm trying to think on the spot.
Yeah.
It was basically just like a weighted ball program, and then seeing what kinematics and kinetics changed.
Yeah, it was. So we basically did like our assessment, which was biomechanics collection, range of motion, some strength testing.
Yeah.
And then with the dynamometer, like internal, external rotation strength, and then 6 weeks of the weighted ball throwing program, and then retest on the biomechanics lab and range of motion and strength stuff. And
in velocity,
velocity was in there too. And then like what were the differences in across all those things. And everybody likes to point out the velocities stayed the same, but the velocity in the motion capture assessment was like roughly the same. Everybody actually gained velo off the mound, like in a more
in their workouts.
Because we hadn't figured out how to get guys to throw hard. In the lab yet.
That's relatively new, to be honest.
Relatively new.
Rachel Balkovic kind of started working.
That's all her thing. And it was just a lot. Yeah, for a first study to be an intervention study was just way too ambitious. We should have just done like a
cross-sectional
thing.
The in that same pipeline that you and Wagshaw worked together was basically still like, I think we're on version 6 now, or working on version 6, and that framework was basically used all the way up through version 5. So like the whole biomechanics like test and retest system that we like as we know it now is like built on the back of that stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we just figured out, I mean, mostly just like looking at all the past research, like all of Fleissig stuff, Arnell's stuff. Yeah, Glenn Fleissig and Dr. Arnell Agnaldo's, like just the metrics they looked at. Like, oh, we should probably look at those, plug those into our pipeline, and that was sort of like the framework that we used for until very recently. And it's still the same metrics that we look at when assessing athletes. Generally speaking, it's like you still care about those joint angles and all that stuff.
Yeah, you look at all these new, even like people are using machine learning like analyses now and everything, and it's like it's mostly all the same metrics that we've been finding in the last, or like has been found in the last few years with biomechanics studies.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the big start of it. Michael Schwartz was the original quantitative analyst for the statistical stuff.
Then me and him basically switched spots.
Yeah, and then he left to go work at Amazon. He was working at Amazon. He left to go work at the Giants.
Yeah.
We found the wandering Romanian.
Yeah, I remember I grabbed a drink of Schwartz right before I moved up to Seattle, like literally like 3 days before, and then
because he was down in San Francisco already.
Yeah, he had moved. He basically moved a week before me, and then I think I did. Actually, I'm going to Denver this weekend. I'm visiting my friend who I spent New Year's Eve at 2017 on to 2018. I did New Year's Eve like shenanigans with him. Spent a day at his place, then rented a car. Don't have that much stuff. Didn't have that much stuff. Still don't have that much stuff. Put it all in a rental car, and then just drove up the coast.
Yeah.
And then synced up. I mean, like when I joined the R&D team, I mean Lindley was doing some remote work still in school. But the R&D team was really just me, you, OC, Boddy. Boddy's director of R&D then. And am I missing anybody? That might have been.
I think that was
because Brady was back in school. Yeah, Brady was back in school.
Back in the summer, right?
Yeah, Chrissy started like soon after me. I remember when you guys were like interviewing Chrissy and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a
what
small
was
team. Sheffy was an intern.
McGarry there?
No, McGarry came later. Sheffy was an intern at the time.
Yeah.
Because I remember like that I was using his MATLAB stuff a lot for the EMG stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. For anyone trying to do EMG analysis, much easier in MATLAB. Although of course you need a school license for MATLAB.
Yeah. Or
and the free trials.
Yeah. You still on one right now?
No, I was not so
long ago.
Yeah, long ago. But Sheffy would be a good guest to get on too.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, I need to get Sheffy on.
Dude,
You just have to read an audiobook when he gets on.
Wait, yeah. Schwartz was one of the first people I met from Driveline because he was down in Arizona. Boddy and Tyke were down watching because the spring or games that happen every year for the Midwest teams that have bad weather. They invited me to the ASU Oregon State game. And I sat and watched with Tyke and Boddy, first time meeting them, and Schwartz was also there, so I was chatting with Schwartz. So it's funny. It's funny that he was one of the first people I met there.
Yeah. And O'Coin took his room up in Cap Hill when he
Oh yeah,
he told me.
That's
right.
That was when I learned. I didn't know Schwartz was kind of a wild man. That house was insane.
It was a triplex. It was the first time I've ever heard of a triplex, and it was insane.
Wait, what is a triplex?
Like a duplex, but
it's like a duplex, but there's three units, and it's like
and he had it himself.
No. There was three separate groups, so each one unit had a separate group of roommates, but they all partied together. So
okay.
I went in 2017 this summer. He invited me and Billy to a 4th of July party. We got there at 8 or whatever, and there were two half kegs that were all the way gone, no more. And it was it was 8 o'clock or something. And everybody from all three of the units were all out there partying. I was like, this is crazy, dude.
Yeah. Speaking of July 4th shenanigans, I still think one of my favorite memories is we threw a July 4th. I forget what you're up to. I'm sure I invited you, but we threw a July 4th thing. I think 2019 at the beach house when it was me, Angles, Brady, and our old roommate Jagar, and. We had planned it really last second, so I invited a bunch of Driveline dudes, knowing it's gonna be a bunch of dudes, and this is I think the PT interns showed up first, and we were just talking to them. I was barbecuing, and I made a bet with Max on whether or not more or less than 5 girls show up, and then the Lindley texted me downstairs. He came in from the back, so I go to the garage, and Lindley's with his now ex, and he's I'm dapping up Lindley, and Lindley's like. Because I've been hyping up the party. I'm like, dude, we're gonna throw a rage or whatever. He's like, how many girls are here? And I was like, we just got our first lady,
first one.
But for the record, I won that bet. I think we had 6.
all girlfriends, the Driveline guys.
Yeah, Gary hooked it up, Max Garrett, because it was his girlfriend and her close friend, almost looks like her sister. Hopefully, don't listen to the podcast. One of the things I wanted to kind of talk about for sure from a history point of view is, we kind of got the lab going. We started expanding a lot more what we're doing, research wise, going kind of from studies to actually developing insights for our training floor, developing production stuff that would later lead to third parties paying us money to kind of pipe in our insights, models, whatever. And then also the purchase of Motus, which we don't have to talk about all the details, but you kind of initially were the steward of Motus, now Poles, handing off to Lindley. Do you want to talk about the decision there and what you kind of did when you first were handed the reins to Motus?
I'll start with how we actually started using the biomechanics lab on a day-to-day kind of basis, because it was we'd had it for probably close to a year in 2017, late 2017.
Yeah.
And at some point, Kyle was just all right, we need to actually use this. We can't just do
collect
research.
just passive data collection.
He it was a big Kyle moment. He very animated, started yelling a lot. It's
heard it be displeased.
Yeah, it was this is bullshit. We got to actually use it. We can't just do research. We got to remember what Driveline is about. All right, good point. And it turned into me and OC for a month, just sitting in the office next to each other and being all right, let's see, elbow flexion. All right, I guess forearm flyout, that's early elbow flexion. And all right, we'll look at elbow flexion through the throw, and if it is too high, then that would be kind of an eyeballed flag of do some constrained pivot pickoffs to tighten up the arm action. We just thought about stuff like that, and shoulder or horizontal abduction, scap retraction, that's probably important, so we'll focus on that one. And
so that was building the original assessment analysis.
Yeah, building the original,
for the signal
and
the metrics.
What we now use with buckets and that sort of stuff. It was just what metrics matter, and then what can we train from that.
Mm-hmm.
It was all right, scap retraction. We can cue that, drill it with heavy balls, and then we were able to actually correlate that after the fact to ball velocity, just kind of assuming it was useful.
Yeah. Also, just to like interject a little bit, 2017, our biomechanics analysis was Motus. The torque, arm speed, arm slot, and shoulder rotation manually written down from live mode.
Yeah, because we did not do it on everybody. It was the 6-week study was the only people being collected in the biomechanics lab at that point.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
just because it took so long to.
Yeah, we like the process was not super dialed.
Yeah. Also, not to bag log even more on stories, but another thing you could slide in between what you're talking about now and what I said about Motus is also Tour of America. Because I'm down.
That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, all right, how can we use actually use the biomechanics lab to train people? So me and OC came up with like a bunch of ideas. Sam Breen helped out a lot with that. It was like we took like all of these ideas to Sam. He was like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then was like, all right, great. Now we can like actually monitor it. We started assessing athletes on a somewhat more regular basis.
How did it start? Was it like a timeline? So if somebody's been here for so long, or is it just like, okay, it's, we haven't done assessments for a few weeks, so we're going to do a week of assessments and just get all the athletes?
It started out as everybody we had, like at some point I was like, all right, we're ready to start doing this now. So we just kind of like caught up on the backlog of everybody who was currently at the gym. And I was like, all right, we can probably do like 4. I think it was like 4 a day was the max that we could handle at that point. So we started just like getting everybody who was in gym, and then everybody who was new, who was onboarding coming into the gym, we would get in the lab. And that kind of going into 2018, that was what started the like actual official signups. It's like, all right, you have to pick a day that you're going to come, and then you're going to assess on that day, and then we'll go from there.
Do you remember what the max was per day then, like at the start of that summer?
I think the summer it was 8.
Okay.
8 was the max, and we like.
Was that all day too?
It wasn't all day, but it was like the first like 4 hours of the day.
Yeah.
It took like probably like 2 an hour was about the rate we were going at, and then you fast forward to 2019. I forget where we. Might have been with like the Rangers or something like that. We got like 20 in a day, and it was like fine. Like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, 7 in like 30 minutes in Arlington.
Yeah,
with me and
like,
Brady.
We hadn't figured out. We hadn't solved the skin adhesion problem.
Yeah,
so every throw markers would just go flying off everywhere.
Yeah.
And then we finally managed to figure that out through.
Have you guys ever considered a shirt? Have you ever considered putting markers on a shirt?
We did. We got a suit from some like random.
Oh, I didn't know we actually did get a suit.
And we tried it out, and it worked all right. But then it's like
like a skin tight body shirt or what?
Yeah, like skin tight compression shirt, compression pants. But then it was like, all right, if we're gonna assess like 20 guys, we need like 20 suits.
Yeah.
We have to like wash them.
They all need to fit right too.
Yeah, they all need to fit right. So you have to have like every size. And I was like, that's way too much.
But that's easily the number one suggestion. It's like everybody, like if somebody has a marker fall off, they'll be like, it'd be really cool if you guys like, had a shirt or something like that. It's like
yeah, man.
Yeah,
we know.
Maybe stop sweating. Maybe stop sweating more.
We considered it. Yeah, in the winter it was totally fine because it was always super cold and like guys weren't super sweaty. But then in the summer when it gets pretty warm and we didn't have AC in the building because nowhere in Seattle had air conditioning, guys would just sweat. And like David Williams was the biggest violator, and also he's got like a super herky, or he had a super herky jerky delivery, and like
not a good combo.
At release, it was just like a shotgun of markers flying off. It was ridiculous. And then
the markers reach home plate before the ball.
Pretty much. And then naturally, there's like so many markers flying off all the time that you just like don't see all of them. And then Mike would come in.
I was wondering if you could
walk around and so those markers, they're expensive. They're the reflective top is like $5 and the base is $1. It's like $6 a marker, and then like we leave some around because we're just lazy, like 20 somethings. And then Mike would come into 4-3, wander around, and be like, look at the ground, and be like, $6.
Looking out for the bottom line, baby.
And like very, very vocally, like $6. It's like, all right, Mike, I get it, man.
I hear you.
You can go. I'll pick him up now. Fine. That was always the fun shenanigans of it.
And now they just stick to the wall.
Now when they fly off, they just stick to the wall. I'm like, well, Mike, you want to go get that one? Get the ladder, bud. But yeah, so then we got like decently good at assessing people, and I was like, all right, how can we like, I forget how exactly it came up, but it was like, how can we take this assessment process on the road? And so we toyed around with a few ideas, and then I don't remember who said it was like, what if we just take the lab with us? I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
So then we we just took the lab with us, and then the first trial run of it was in Arizona, 2018 spring training. with
That was the Rangers, right?
No,
It wasn't the Rangers.
No, we did White Sox, Cubs. That might have.
Did you guys do the D-backs that year?
No, that was the next year.
Okay. Was that the year that you guys? There was one condo in Tempe that
was the first
rented
year.
out for a
Yeah,
week.
that was the first year. So we flew down there, took the lab with us. That was our first time taking the lab on the road, so it was like a true test. And then we wrongly assumed that we would just be able to get like tall enough tripods there, because it was like we had these 8-foot tall, super bulky tripods,
like speaker stands, basically.
Speaker stands, and they're super beefy. Like each one weighs like 25 pounds. Like we ain't taking those on the road. So we can just pick up tripods. We can find like some 8-foot tripods at like a electronics store or whatever, and we could not.
Nope.
So we found 6-foot tripods, and then I think we did a trial run with it, and I was like, this is just not tall enough. So then we went to a Home Depot and got a bunch of buckets,
like Rubbermaid
big
tubs.
Rubbermaid tubs, and then we're like, this is perfect. We'll put the tripods on the tubs. And then we, and I remember testing the cameras outside to make sure it would work outside, like that this, because like too much infrared light from the sun will like, mess it up. I thought that might be an issue, so we tested it outside and it worked totally fine. Of course, it was winter in Seattle, so it's just gray and not super bright, and it worked fine. We go to Arizona in the spring when it's super sunny, and it did not work outside.
And game field.
Yeah,
it's dirt. It's dirt, but it's like different.
The 6-pack of mounds.
Yeah, it's like super reflective.
Yeah,
dirt.
yeah.
It's
So
weird.
me, Kyle, Lindley, and then Kyle Boddy go to Camelback Ranch with the White Sox, and it had to have looked absolutely absurd. We're like setting up these cameras on big old Rubbermaid storage buckets on tripods, setting all that stuff up. And I remember Chris.
And you're like, "What are you guys doing? Biomechanics, baby."
Yeah. I just remember Chris Getz being like, "You guys, we have like the covered cages. We can just use those." And it's like, "Oh no! You got this nice 6-pack of mounts. We'll do it right here. We want to keep it like natural, And then we set up all the cameras, like get them all positioned, and then I like start calibrating, and I'm looking at the screen, or I think Lindley was wanding, and I'm looking at the screen, and it's just like flashing white everywhere, like you can't see anything, and I'm just like, "Hey, Kyle, this isn't gonna work, man." It's like, I mean, like, can we like change the settings? And I'm like, nope, that's not gonna work. All right, actually, Chris, we'll go to the shade. We'll go to the shade in the cages, and then we wandered over there and then actually got it done. But yeah, that was the very first time. And then we knew we were doing the Cubs later that week, and thankfully it was cloudy, so we actually were able to.
Oh, we also got a tent, I'm pretty sure.
And we had
we got the easy up and tarps, and like guarded the cameras from light.
Some absurd setups we were running back then. Yeah, that was the first foray there, and then that turned into the actual summer tour of like, all right, has to be inside, mandatory. Yeah, we take this on the road, and then that was how that all got.
And then ended up going all the way across the country, bunch of different cities.
How many spots did we do in total? Yeah, do you guys know off the top of your head, or like not assessments, like different locations we actually took a tour of America?
Probably pretty close to like 50.
Yeah, I mean, a couple international too.
A couple international, yeah.
I was trying to get my weight in that trip for no good reason, except just me traveling.
Yeah, Japan a couple times, the Dominican, Canada, four countries. The Driveline World Tour was a real thing. Yeah, and then those were a grind fest. We still weren't super efficient, like cleaning and processing all the marker data, motion capture data. So there was a lot of like
up till 4,
collect the data, and then up until 4 in the morning, like doing all the calculations, the processing and all that stuff, and then wake up 4 hours later, and then go talk to some kids and their parents and show them their biomechanics data.
Yeah. And at that time, the edutronic processing took a ton of time too.
Yeah. Because the first one was in Denver, which that was a good one. I forget why, but I was just feeling terrible going into that trip, like working my ass off on other stuff, and then I like didn't sleep a whole lot the night before, and I like was kind of getting sick, fighting something off, and then the drive there. Our flight was at like 6 in the morning, super early. So I get up. I was living like downtown Seattle, and the entrance onto the freeway was kind of janky. It was like you go straight and then it was a hard, sharp left turn that you like have to take like 20 miles an hour. Naturally, I'm running late. So I'm like kind of going fast. It was kind of like foggy and misty. And then I just kind of missed the turn, or I thought I turned and my car just didn't turn. So I crashed my car into the wall. And then I like drive straight a little bit and I'm like, it still drives. So I just go to the airport anyways. Or I go to Driveline and then take an Uber from there. And then get on the plane, like check in, get on the plane. After like making sure we packed everything up. And then the instant I sit down in my seat, I look over at Brady and I'm like, I did not bring the calibration tools. Brady's like, oh no. So first trip was off to a great start. I crashed my car and we didn't have the calibration tools. Luckily Brady knew a bunch of guys in Denver because he went to UNC up in Colorado. Yep. And then so he texted a bunch of them, but they weren't able to get us anything. So we went to a Home Depot and got like a ruler and some cardboard and just made our own calibration tools, like measured it out as precisely as we could.
Got the job done.
And yeah, it got the job done. It worked somehow. Pro tip, if you're ever traveling to Denver and you're driving around, Denver yellow lights. Don't crash your car. Don't crash your car, but Denver yellow lights are very short.
Really? I told you I'm going to Denver this weekend.
Yeah.
So this is,
yeah,
I mean,
I'm
not planning on driving, but
if you're driving, those yellow lights are short. So like I see a yellow light and I'm like, oh great, I got plenty of time to make it. So I just keep cruising through and then it just instantly turns red. And then I see a flash from the
oh no.
And I'm like, no. And then like on the same drive, like 5 minutes later, the same exact thing happens. Another flash. I'm like, god dang it.
Dude, you know what that is prime for?
I had the like yellow light yips. I like see a yellow light, I'm like, I can make it.
Slam on the brakes.
No, I can't. And then I just slam on the brakes.
Yeah.
Then I got a ticket from that.
You guys ever played a yellow light game growing up, where like you try to test the ceiling, like the roof of the car when you're driving through, like the moment if it turns yellow, no, and then whoever tested it last has to take off an article of clothing.
What? Dude, no, we never played this.
Definitely didn't do that. Oh man, yeah, got a couple of red light tickets in Denver. The first day after we did the assessment stuff and we got back to the Airbnb we were staying at, which was not a great part of Denver. Like we told some guys who lived there where we were staying and they're like, yikes, dude, that was
good luck.
So we parked the van, go in and do work, and then in the morning, the door to the van was just wide open, and there was like some stuff in the van that was not there the day before. It's like, all right. So homeless guy may or may not have slept in our van overnight.
You trying to get a assessment in, dude?
Yeah. Trying to check that elbow flexion. But
and then on the way back, I left the cameras at the airport.
I remember that.
And then I was like, oh no.
And then Brady just randomly saw them.
Right, no, that's a recent story, dude.
That's a recent one.
That's a recent story. Yeah.
Like how recent?
I like fully
last fall.
Them. Like we had all left, and then got back to Driveline, dropped off the stuff, and I was like, I don't know where the cameras are. Oh, probably left them at the airport. No. So then I called at the airport, like called up the security officers. Like it was around like 9 p.m. on Sunday, and then they're like, yeah, we found it. You just like picked up your other bags and then just left it there.
Yeah,
we got it. So come pick it up. And I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
$50,000 worth of cameras just.
It's like in a Pelican case though, so like somebody would probably be super sketched out about picking it up and bringing it or whatever. No, that story was from the Combine 2020. So I guess two falls ago.
Yeah.
So a year and a half ago.
I feel like I remember both, but yeah, maybe I just conflated too.
But by the end of the tour, we were ripping. I think Anthony and I crushed like 20 homies in like 4 or 5 hours or something at one of the university stops. And we did like a handful of university stops where we assessed the whole team, huh?
Yeah, those university stops were a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was a lot more time because they're usually like a week long, so it wasn't like stay up late and
you don't gotta crush everything the next day.
A 12-hour turnaround. It was like a week turnaround, which was nice.
Yeah, that's fire. Do you want to? I want to touch on the Motus acquisition, but I also kind of want to hear about the computer muscle control stuff that you spent a good amount of time on previously. So whatever.
Yeah, I'll talk about the computer muscle control stuff. Start there. That was a lot of fun.
Yo, if you guys want to go ham, we still have another mark to split.
No, dude, I can't. You guys
Well,
can't.
I was trying to work out later today, but that's
Yeah.
all right.
I mean,
Pre-workout.
dude, I'm about to give a presentation during all hands.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got.
I'm
all
the
hands,
HR
right.
king.
How much time? is it?
The HR king is gonna be a little bit
Oh,
buzzed.
dude, I forgot about that.
Oh man.
That's how we do HR. Yo, Brady, cut that out.
Yeah. I forget how I wiggled my way into the computer muscle control stuff, but that was Wagshaw's big baby.
Mhm.
That summer 2017 when he came back to work, he was like doing partially the consulting on the like setting up the lab and the pipelines and all that, and then
Do you want to talk about like the limitations, like or like what the appeal behind having computer muscle control in there?
I mean, we can start by like what
Just
what the
it is.
current process is
Yeah.
with like calculations.
yeah. I mean the principle of it is the way we currently like everybody does biomechanics is you get the motion first, and then you kind of backtrack to like what the body's doing from that motion. So like from all the marker data or from like markerless data, like joint center data and that stuff, you can figure out like, okay, the body's is in this position, the elbow is bent like this, and then you can go like more steps kind of into the body of like how fast is it moving and then how fast is it accelerating, which then you can get joint torques, joint moments, and forces on the shoulder and elbow without force plates, or if you have force plates, you can get joint moments and forces through the whole body, which is the huge value add for force plates. So it's kind of like starting with the motion and then tracking into the body, what the body's doing. Computer muscle control starts on the other side of it, or forward dynamics starts on the other side of it, which is like what is the body doing to create the motion. So you start with like how strong are the muscles, how fast can the muscles fire, and then the next thing is like what are the activation patterns. So it's like, all right, to bring my arm up, I'm like using my shoulder muscles to raise the arm, the bicep to bend, like,
And that's measured with EMG.
yeah, and that's measured with EMG or just kind of guesstimates of like what activation patterns cause those. And there's a bunch of very complicated equations that like kind of solve all that for you. So computer muscle control is kind of like an in-between step where you take the motion and then using those same principles and like activation patterns of the muscles, you can like figure out an estimate. It's not totally accurate or like totally known if it's super accurate. Like figure out what the muscles in the body are doing and like not just what the like forces and joints are on the whole joints and whole segments, but on the actual like ligaments and musculature in the body. So instead of like elbow valgus torque is just like the total torque on the elbow bending it in this direction. It doesn't tell you anything about what the torque is on the UCL or like what muscles are doing to counteract that torque. So with computer muscle control, you can figure out in theory what the actual like stress is on the ligament, based on all that stuff. So that's kind of the like belief of it. And if you can figure out the example I always think of is which is what Jimmy Buffy's PhD was like, this works is like, does getting stronger in theory help protect your elbow from throwing, which it does, because you can, assuming the same activation patterns, like your muscles fire at the same times, if those muscles are stronger, they're just going to be able to absorb more of that force and then take it off of the UCL. So that was kind of the whole like thing. If you can figure that out, like, oh, if I don't know, I can't think of a good.
It gives you more
example.
It gives you more perspective too about like, stress or kinetics values being higher than expected, like not necessarily being a bad thing. Also, like I have something coming hopefully tomorrow about the pulse research that me and Cap have been working on. That I mentioned to you last weekend. But like, I mean, for example, I think like Robert Stock is a good example. Do you remember when he came in and had like very high torque values, and also he had like very high strength numbers, and he like doesn't really get hurt, hasn't had issues. And that's okay. Like his body can handle those stress values. Right. So I think like that's almost like kind of a way like computer muscle control can kind of fill in the gaps.
Exactly. Yeah. And like even if a guy's like from like throwing, if a guy like in one session to another session is like throwing a lot harder and his elbow stress is a lot harder, is a lot higher. Like at least from the the way we measure it, it's like that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like he could be just stronger as well and be able to like accept all that force. So it's like he's fine, but we don't really know that, which is kind of the limitations of looking at like valgus torque
Yeah.
in general from like an injury
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of like 20. I think it was like 2018, 2019. I was getting in the weeds on it, trying to figure that out, and then got pushed aside a little bit. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of a moonshot.
Very, very moonshot.
But it's like it's similar. There's some other nuances with pulse and everything, but like with like the per throw discrete metrics that Motus or now Pulse spit out, it's like, okay, if your torque is higher than the guy throwing next to you, like that's not necessarily a bad thing. You might also just be 50 pounds heavier and like 3 inches taller. Yeah. So like it's just gonna take more torque to move. But yeah, I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah. Still in the back of the mind as a moonshot that's out there.
Yeah. Do you think is there? I guess now that, because it was previously blocked by force plates, right? So we or like at least partially blocked. We wouldn't be able to use it as assessment tool because we didn't have all the measurement tools. But assuming like we have access to force plates, do you see it being like becoming an efficient enough process where, I don't know, in a couple of years or whatever, we might be able to actually implement that as an assessment process?
I think so at some point. Maybe not as an assessment process, but as a like a knowledge finding sort of tool to start. Similar with like kind of like the energy flow stuff that WAS have been doing. It's
like a model or output or something.
It's like, oh, if you're, you can like
to.
start to figure out like, oh, this is a less efficient way to transfer energy. So that's like not a good thing. So we can like try and correct those mechanical deficiencies that have worse energy flow.
Yeah.
Same way, it's like, oh, this like movement pattern in the like model led to higher stress at the elbow, like on the actual UCL. So like that's not an ideal movement pattern. It kind of like reaffirms all that knowledge. I think that's the starting place for it. And I think like another cool thing kind of within that that I know Tom Keppel did with ice skaters at University of Delaware with the US skating team, figure skaters, is you can like simulate the mechanical differences. So with figure skating, it would be like they go do a routine in the capture area, and then on a like, like they're trying to do a triple axle, but they don't have enough like rotation, so they kind of biff it or whatever. They can simulate like, oh, what if instead of your arm being out here when you're doing the axle, it's like closer together, and then you'll spin faster. You can do like that same sort of simulation. Like, what if you, and it's like in a pitching context, it's like, what if we just simulate you having a more closed torso instead of you being like super open? Like, what's the output of that? Like, is there more stress on the UCL? Are you throwing harder? Like, what's the like kind of those simulation aspects of it are super interesting too.
Yeah, because if you do some like crazy simulations, you could come up with like the ideal pitch, right? In theory.
Yeah.
If you were
like it'd be unique to each individual, obviously. Like,
yeah,
it's hard
exactly.
to come up with, like the ideal motion.
Yeah.
And not have to be subject specific.
Yeah, and it's also super like more or less impossible because you have to take into account a bunch of anthropometric constraints
and like
shit
with
like
your
that.
like how strong are the muscles underneath and like all that stuff, which is like there's a lot of like kind of like beef backlash against that, like the ideal motions and like simulations are like not true, but it's like they still have value. Doesn't mean they don't have value.
Just like general paradigms,
the limitations and everything. We only got like 10 minutes for all hands. Do you want to touch on Motus, or you want to go straight to what you're working on now? So I think maybe both if we can fit it in. And then Kyle Rogers' wedding. The first, we'll say the first time me and Joe really went out or drank together, that ended up with both of us sleeping at the facility.
God. Hannah was so
I didn't know
mad.
that. Dude.
She was talking to me. Well, you heard us talking about it at Ruben's like a month ago, right?
Yeah. She's
like, Joe, where are you?
Yeah, my phone died at some point. So I told Hannah, I was like, hey, we're like leaving now.
Yeah.
And then my phone died. So we drove back. So OC was.
We made a very responsible decision to,
Yeah, exactly. OC was the designated driver. Yeah. And then when I got back to the facility and Caravan got back to the facility, it's like, I am not good to drive. So I'm just going to sleep in my car and it'll be fine. And then I'll wake up and I'll leave.
and I had no idea Joe was sleeping in his car. I just walked in, and I think I passed it on that blue like mattress Boddy had just bought in like the office that Gordo had just built. I was like, just in case anybody comes in the morning, like wakes me up, I'm just gonna curl up in the office, and I slept for like 8 hours.
So on Monday when we like regrouped, it was like, oh, you slept at the facility? Me too. And then Hannah was very mad. She thought I died. So I'm like, I'm on my way home, and then I just don't come home, and my phone is dead. So I'm like, all right,
dude.
Then I woke up at like 5 at the crack. Like the sun was rising. Like I gotta go home now.
I feel like shit.
Yeah, I feel terrible, but I'll go home. But yeah, Motus. It came together super wildly. We were just
and it was super quick, right?
Yeah, super quick. We were at ABCA, and I think it was Will Carroll mentioned that like Motus was for sale in whatever capacity. It was like, yeah, we'd be interested.
Yeah,
in
we
that.
validated them. We did that like our third study or so.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'd done the validation. Like we knew the value of it. I was like, oh, okay, let's like see what the number is, like consider it. And then we talked to them, and the numbers lined up, and then we just got like, I remember me, Mike, and Kyle were at BJ's just like having dinner, figuring out like what we were gonna do about it. I was like, I think we should do it. Makes sense. Like it just like financially made sense. It made sense for Driveline as like kind of from an ethos of like, we're not, obviously velo matters and all that stuff, but it's like we also
have like so much longitudinal like training.
Yeah.
Like we need a monitor, and we also like it gives us a data stream, gives us hardware and software, and like syncs up with like our overall aims.
Yeah, exactly. And then the fact that we could just like have all that internally is like was huge.
And it also just unlocks like a more robust remote assessment and remote like online training.
Yeah. And Motus had a like we'd always toyed around with, like I remember you were working on the like the notch sensors with like a multi IMU
I remember that
sort of thing, like a KVS for pitching at the time a few years ago. Like they had like multi-sensor, they had a multi-sensor package in there that we were kind of interested in. It was like there's just a lot of potential there, and like it just makes sense. So we sent it and it worked out. And then pretty much like through all of COVID, that was just like what I was
your main project
figuring out on while halfway directing R&D.
Yeah.
Dude.
While running, dude, I forget how we were running daily stand-ups, dude.
I know, yeah,
that was crazy to think back on. I mean, honestly, like pretty fun from a camaraderie point of view too, because we were like all small enough to still do like R&D in one meeting. Yeah. It was like only like 9-10 of us. Like now it'd be like, like around 20, especially when some interns there's like over 20. So it's like people don't talk when it's that many, but like 9-10, like everyone gets to talk.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember me? Like I'll try to get a workout in right before, so half the time during those meetings I'd just be like sweating or something.
I remember that.
And also Fit Friday.
Fit Friday.
Yeah.
Fit Friday was like workout when you're not talking, you're just push-ups or air squats.
Yeah,
in the background.
I was gonna
while you're talking.
Yeah. I was getting pretty wild during some of those Zoom meetings. Do you remember that? Do you guys remember that one meeting when I just moved in with my now ex Brady, my brother, and Spencer Schneier, ex-coworker, and like a dog burst in as I was talking, and I went like off video, and it was like just chaotic. Do you remember that? Because I had to get the dog out of the house. Oh, the neighbor's dog burst in during
what?
I remember that. I remember when you first moved into the closet, and I was like, Caravan, where are you? And I was like, I'm in my office.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a closet. Also that.
Just have 12 articles of women's clothing behind me.
Yeah.
Dude, I full-time started taking over Pulse last fall in like winter. I was still technically like assistant manager of sports science and helping manage some of the people there. And I'm just like, dude, I have no idea how Joe was like managing Pulse or Motus and its developers, and also this like wild group of R&D homies. Like it is a ton.
I mean, I think like that's the like all of your guys' credit at the time was like you guys are super self-sufficient. So it was just like I was just trying to like check boxes to keep Mike happy, and I knew you guys would like keep the boat floating.
I've thought back on it too, because I mean one thing I've reflected on too is I think we like starting with a company or fairly early on. Like obviously you started much earlier, and I came on full time when there's like 20-25 people. But like being kind of like on the ground up, it like just makes you way more independent for the most part. Like like if it doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you. You're just gonna go to like a different company. but like it is sketchy. Like all the stuff you just talked about, like throughout this whole episode, like being scrappy, like making things work, like putting things together on the spot, being resourceful, like all those things extend pretty well. And I think we take it for granted too. Like it just like, yeah, if you're gonna be down for that, basically like your personality and kind of like work chemistry is usually gonna be pretty dialed when it comes to that. Cause yeah, I mean, but like especially like I'm thinking like myself, Dan, Brady, like we all are like got pretty good at like running things and from the ground up too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, yeah, there wasn't a ton to like manage. Like there just was no micromanaging to be done because it was like whatever project you guys are working on, it was like, you know, you got to go work on that. You like know what has to be done. Like I'm here if you need anything, and then I just like I'm a generally very like hands off manager type of person, anyways. Which in some cases is very not good when you like do need to step in because I'm not great at that. But like I knew like you guys, by and large had it on lock, so it's like I just didn't have to manage like make sure the check in on the stand ups. And KPIs are chilling and whatnot. So it's like, all right, we're good.
Do you want to talk briefly about just what you're doing right now, in case like anyone interested is like or anyone listening is interested?
Yeah.
Any front office homies?
Yeah, the front office homies.
Dude, I think front office homies do listen to this.
I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I that has made it like that has I have heard that.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
Not after this episode though, bro. We got. By the way, do you guys know what percent this margarita is?
No.
What would you guess? I intentionally didn't tell you guys.
9%, dude.
9?
That's a double. That's a double IPA.
I kind of would have guessed higher, honestly.
I mean, no, we don't have the whiskey anymore that Cookie gave us.
What are you drinking already?
It's in my house.
Okay.
Oh, dude. I'll bring it back.
We might have to hit this. We might have to hit this. What are you doing now? Next, Joe Marsh Part 2, bro.
I didn't drink it all, but like I brought it home and I was like showing off to my roommate Mitch. I don't know if you met him.
Yeah.
I think you might have met Mitch.
Yeah.
But I was hanging off to him.
Mitch.
Oh yeah. And I just completely fumbled the whole
No.
the whole handle, so I spilled like a third of it. Like right away, I was like, "Yo, dude, we got this sick ass Japanese whiskey." I was like, "Here," and then spilled like a third of it. I would have spilled.
Why was it open? Yeah.
No, because I was about to pour a shot, and I was like handing it to him, and like it would have shattered if he didn't catch it. He had like insane hand, just like, ooh, and then caught it. But yeah. Hit it. I put a timer. I put a timer for how much time we got.
Yeah, we got the time.
Yeah, Kinatrax, Hawkeye. Yeah, what's cracking?
Yeah. Been putting together a lot of stuff.
There's some good eyes, dude. Or your boy is buzzed.
Yeah, I'm too blind. I can't see the time over there.
Yeah. So after it kind of spurred from after doing the Kinatrax validation.
Comparing Kinatrax
to the marker-based data.
Yeah.
I was like, this is pretty damn good. And there's like no reason we can't just apply how we currently report biomechanics and like
scale
it up to Kinatrax offering. So I was like, let's just like retool that for a team that has a Kinatrax system. So I've been working on building out all that infrastructure. Just trying to like biomechanics data ain't easy. So it's like figuring like, and I think we're pretty good at translating all that stuff into pretty like tangible insights of like, here's what's different. Here's what you need to work on. I think the in-game Kinatrax data is even easier to translate because it's like, you just like
intensity is going to be there anyways. You don't have to worry about like
intensity's
not
there. And then so you don't have to like worry about that kind of as a variable. And then you can just like clearly see because the data is from a whole game. So it's like
you look at performance.
Like on your curveball, like your mechanics are totally different than your fastball. Like you don't need to know what elbow flexion is to know that that's probably not good. So like those insights are pretty graspable. And like if you have like a a starter over a full game, like inning 1, you're here. And inning 6, you're like way over here. Probably fatigue, maybe like fatigue. But
it's like a biomechanics researcher's dream. Like having all of that, like a huge data set like that.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like longitudinal, like within a game, so you can like measure fatigue there over the whole course of a season. It's like the first game you pitched in, you were here, and then 2 months later, when you're super bad, your mechanics are totally different. Let's get back to what we were doing over there.
Or like call it, right? Like if it's obviously not live, but if you have that data, you can like figure out when, like try to refine when, like if guys should be on a shorter leash or whatever.
Yeah. Even like intra-game decisions of like in the fifth and like by pitch 50, his mechanics are changing pretty significantly. Like if he's struggling, like
that was my timer for 5 minutes.
Get him out of
Months ago. Speaking of though, remember Brady messes us to talk about Kershaw.
Oh yeah.
Kershaw. Brady messes me and Lindley going like, dude, we gotta talk about Kershaw. Getting pulled after 7 innings, like workload and everything. Which I mean, we don't have any time to talk about that anymore.
It's also we were just talking about.
Yeah. But that's pretty crazy. I mean, Brady made a good point on Twitter. Just like the pitches that he had in the game, like are not the big picture. Like, right, he could have warmed up whatever he was throwing days leading up to it, weeks leading up to it. Like the whole point behind Pulse, like tracking everything.
He also, dude, he even said it in his interview. He was like, yeah, earlier in my career, he was like, earlier in my career, I would have been built up for 100 pitches that day, but he's just not now. And it's just like, he is a veteran. He does like know what that feels like and what the process is like getting ready for a season. So like him being able to do that is like, one, I don't think every player can do that.
Yeah, definitely not. Especially not if you're like a young guy who
dude,
got
for sure. Oh yeah,
and he's gone through like the ringer. Like he's seen like injury, possibly from overuse, possibly from like inefficient mechanics at the time. You know, like he understands like if he does push it, he's just gonna get hurt.
Yeah, for sure. And then he was also talking about like he didn't have his slider. Like it was getting guys out, but like he didn't have it. But yeah, it's like you don't know how much throwing fitness he's built up. You don't know how much or like what his throwing sessions looked like the last 5 days or how he's feeling today. If he didn't sleep well 2 nights ago or last night, whatever, like there's just way more factors that we just like have no idea about that he does probably. And the Dodgers are obviously a really like good organization. They have a good amount of data and even stuff they don't have data on, like they probably understand really well. So
I mean, to hit Dean's point, or like what Dean's always big on is like sleep quality and all that stuff. Like I remember seeing the data that Boddy collected with the Reds with the Aura ring, and it was like you could like the data looks faked. It was like so strongly correlated.
You made this up.
Yeah, it's like you fake this to make Aura ring look good. It's like your sleep quality compared to like how you perform in a game or like bullpen like was ridiculously linearly correlated. It's like, all right, so that you know, clearly that matters too.
Yeah.
So having all those, having like that full picture of like workload over time, which is like really only measurable with Pulse, like the stuff within a game, which you can like get with Kinatrax or Hawkeye, and then even just like sleep quality and like general kind of biometrics.
So just to tie it off. So right now you and Boddy are working on like Kinatrax processing, mostly on the college side, and then Hawkeye processing on the MLB side.
Yep. Kinatrax for both MLB and college, and then Hawkeye for MLB.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it costs too much for colleges.
And the idea there is like you know you're gonna process data and potentially give insights as well, or like what's the output look like?
Yeah, it's all the same insights we like get from our lab here, since it was like so strongly reliable that like you can still get the kind of absolute like here's mechanical inefficiencies that like we would want to work on, as well as kind of the within game or within season trends of like what's changing, what's different pitch to pitch, what's different game to game, all that sort of stuff, and just trying to like make that super easy to consume, identify the outliers based on, you know, just like standard deviations and like, you're outside of this standard range, so like
that's a flag.
That's something to look into. And it's like it's not like we're not trying to tell you what to do, especially teams. It's like, you know, Driveline has our own drills. Coaches and teams have their own way to do it.
That's 25 pivot X.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, you know, here's the issue. Yeah. It could be any number of things, like his fatigue, like maybe in the 5th inning, like his biomechanics are changing significantly on like one start. It's like, but then you can look at his like Aura ring sleep score and it was just terrible. It's like, you probably just didn't sleep well. Keep an eye on that and then go from there. It's, you know, not necessarily like this is a bad thing. You got to do X, Y, Z about it to fix it. It's all about just contextualizing it into usable information for coaches.
And the players probably eat it up even more than like an assessment here, because it's like, I mean, those were throws that he was actually throwing to hitters.
Yeah, you just don't have to like do anything different. You're just in the game, and then you're that's what happened.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
All right, we gotta go. I gotta give a meeting on reviews and
that's right. Oh, that's
or give a presentation.
Yeah.
Give a meeting on reviews.
Director of HR. Signing off.
All right. Peace.
Thanks, guys. Peace.